Hey everyone, it's Andrew. With everybody getting ready to work from home, we wanted to make a really quick series of videos just to help you out, because whether the coronavirus has hit your area yet or whether your organization is just getting ready and making contingency plans, the way you lead your team is probably going to change dramatically in the next little while. So for those of you who've already led remote and virtual teams, you've got a leg up on everybody else. But for the rest of the world, we're probably looking at millions of managers who are going to be leading remote teams for the first time. And with that, there are some major changes to how you lead your team if you want to be successful. I'll highlight three of them here. All right. The first one is the mindset shift on how you measure work. And I've seen it with so many clients over the decades now, where when you are used to a co-located model where your manager and your team are all in one area, the way that people tend to manage is by counting the number of hours you have butts in seats. That's not a great way, even when you're co-located, but that is a natural way people default to. Can I see you sitting in your chair? Do you appear to be doing work? Okay, great, I'm happy. That doesn't cut it when you're remote and virtual. And it brings us to point number two. What you have to shift your mindset to is assigning tasks and achieving objectives. So giving your team members something to accomplish and then getting out of their way. And that brings us into the third point, which is you need to up your delegation game. All right. Most managers, especially junior managers, are middling at best at delegation. You give them, hey, I need you to do something, and you don't have all the details worked out yourself, so you're relying on them to come back to you over and over again when they have questions. It's not going to cut it in a remote world. All right. Here's why. If you hand off a half-baked delegation package, right? You say, hey, I need you to accomplish A, B, and C. Your team member goes off, says, okay, and then they start to dig into it. And guess what? They find they've got a problem. Now they've got to articulate the problem, reach out to you, wait for you to get the question, wait for you to figure out the answer. You're going to turn around and send it back to them. And when they get back to it, then they can keep going. That's an incredible waste of time. That's a whole lot of delays built into the system. So upping your delegation game means that you need to be able to think through all of the parts of what you're delegating, what the end outcome looks like, what the limitations or constraints are, what resources they have available to them, and how you are going to measure success of that objective, right? It sounds simple. Most people, through either lack of knowledge or laziness, don't do it. Because when you're face to face, it's easy for somebody to drop by your office and say, hey, what did you mean by blah? All right? That doesn't work well when you're remote and virtual. So step one, mindset shift. Objectives instead of butts in chairs. Step two, that means you're going to have to deliver objectives that you're going to measure against. And to do that effectively is step three, you need to up your delegation game. So those are today's three quick steps for those of you who are going to get into or want to get better at leading remote and virtual teams. Tomorrow, we're going to jump into communication and some tips and tricks. Understand what you communicate about and how you communicate will change when you're remote. All right? And you need to have that knowledge. You need to be ahead of that curve in order to support your team when they're remote. You'll have this knowledge and they may not. So it falls to you as the manager, to you as the leader, to know this stuff and get it right. So tune in tomorrow for more tricks and tips, techniques, ways to succeed as we go through this massive experiment in remote and working from home. Thanks.